was, dizzy, but I ran it twice. It didn't happen.
Well, and a lot of people, I mean, maybe not, but I think
So I
some
just
people
kinda-
take weeks at a time.
Yeah, I
So,
know.
Hey, it's nice. Can I get a receipt? Yeah.
For this,
don't talk much.
let me take my position.
Oh.
So I put on
No,
the
it seems like it's a
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Hey, y'all.
Hey, how are you, Chris?
Good. How are you doing?
Good.
Let me go tell them.
You're okay with me?
Yep, we'll be good. Go crush a bridge.
How are you?
Should I just start taking fireman for? What did that flame spiral?
Hi, sir. Hey.
Well, Bird's quote. It was dark and it was hot and black. I think what he said.
Jason made all those quotes up.
He did?
Yeah.
Did they really?
Yeah, that's not necessarily surprising.
I really wasn't even there. He just shot me.
Photoshopped you in? That's awesome.
And I won't be back in January.
What a day.
I bought my ticket to Glendale.
I had a feeling that was going to happen.
Got free airline, free hotel, some cars, all in it.
What's
Was it frequent flyer miles or what? PCS, well, Auburn. We got 90 seconds.
What's the official time?
Verizon has 6.
Okay. All right. I'll go with that. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome Pastor Michael DeBusk, Associate Pastor at Crabapple First Baptist Church, to lead us in invocation. Pastor here? Okay. Okay. Well, he might be running late. Okay. Well, then I would like to call the regular meeting of the Milton City Council for Monday, December 6, 2010, to order. Will the city clerk please call the roll and make general announcements?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I will be happy to call roll for December 6th, 2010 regular meeting. However, I would like to remind those in attendance to please silence all cell phones at this time. Additionally, those attending the meeting who would like to provide public comment either during the public hearing or during the call for public comment, you are required to complete a public comment card prior to speaking on an item. There is no public comment for consent agenda items or items under first presentation. Those called to speak will be taken in the order that the speaker cards were received by the city clerk staff prior to the beginning of tonight's meeting. All speakers will identify themselves by name, address, and organization if applicable. When you hear the bell, you have 30 seconds to complete your remarks. The City Council may allow public comment on either an agenda item or general public comment from a representative of such an organized group or association, provided, however, that such an individual shall file a notarized affidavit that they have the authority to speak on behalf of said organization on a form provided by the city clerk prior to the agenda item being called. Demonstration of any sort within this chamber is prohibited, so please refrain from any applause, cheering, booing, outbursts, or dialogue with any person speaking. Please show the same respect to the person speaking that you will expect to receive yourself. Anyone in violation will be asked to leave. As I call roll, please confirm your attendance. Mayor Joe Lockwood.
Here.
Councilmember Karen Thurman.
Here.
Councilmember Julie Sauter Bailey.
Here.
Councilmember Bill Loss.
Here.
Councilmember Burke Hewitt.
Here.
Councilmember Joe Longoria.
Here.
Councilmember Alan Hart.
Here.
Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, good evening. I want to welcome everybody here. I also want to thank, we've got some representatives from Safe Built here that came all the way from Colorado to be at our meeting tonight. We were supposed to approve their contract. They done us a great job so far in the last 4 years, and we're looking forward to working with them moving forward. And unfortunately, due to some technical or legal stuff, we're going to have to approve their contract at our next meeting. But again, I want to thank you guys for coming out and being here. And sorry that I'll have to be in 2 weeks, but good to have you here. I also want to apologize to the council if anybody notices a kind of a smoky, burny smell. It's Bert. His hair's still singed from being in the burned down house. So, all right, will the city clerk please sound the next item?
Our next item is approval of meeting agenda item number 10, 1290.
Okay, is there any items to be considered? I know we've talked about, I'll let Chris.
Mayor, I'd like to recommend that we move from the consent agenda, item number 9, approval of an agreement with Lou Oliver Incorporated Holetown Solutions. It's item number 10-1299 to new business.
Okay, do I have anything else anybody else wants to add? Or if not, I'll open that up for a motion in a second.
Mayor, I'll move to approve the consent agenda with staff's recommendations.
Are we, for the meeting agenda?
I meant to say the meeting agenda.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Next item is public comment. Public comment is a time for citizens to share information with the mayor and city council and to provide input and opinions on any matter that is not scheduled for its own public hearing during today's meeting. There's no discussion on items on the consent agenda or presentation from the public or from council. Each citizen who chooses to participate in public comment must complete a comment card and submit it to the city clerk. Please remember this is not a time to engage the mayor or members of the city council in conversation. When your name is called, please step forward. You will have 5 minutes for remarks, and please state your name and address for the record. Sudi, is there any public comment?
Yes, sir, we do have one from Miss Patty Silva, who is unable to be here tonight, but I'd like to read her comments into the record.
Okay.
She resides at 1685 High Grove Club Drive, Milton, Georgia, 3004. Good evening, City of Milton, Mayor, Council, and staff. I am concerned once again about the fate of the Crabapple Community Center. I understand that the City of Milton still has plans to demolish the building at some time in the near future. I have several emails which I will add to this letter for you to review, not necessarily read during tonight's City Council meeting. Please be advised of the following. Several months ago, during a board meeting which I attended with Sally Rich-Cobb, the Parks and Recreation Board agreed to let me find volunteers and materials to renovate the outside of the building. I was allowed to suggest paint colors, and they were thankfully approved by Miss Cindy Bonacci. Since that time, a Boy Scout named Nate Vernon has asked if he could take on the task to earn his Eagle Scout status. Sally and I were beyond pleased to hear that all materials and labor, including landscaping and an American flag, would be provided to the informal group of Save the Crabapple Community Center Project and others passionate about this building. I found out late last night that the project has been approved by the Boy Scouts, but gathering materials and raising money is taking longer than expected. Originally, the project date for completion was October. Now it is more like February 2011. My biggest concern at this time is that the Milton Historic Preservation Committee still does not have a full board of appointees and does not leave the fate of the center at high risk for demolition without votes by the MHPC board. Also, to be very frank with you, I am also concerned that I have passed along a couple of names of residents who are very interested in becoming a part of the committee, but they have never received a call from the council member who still have open appointments. Please understand that I realize that the process takes some time, but please do not tear down the Crabapple Community Center until we give Nate Vernon a chance to earn his Eagle Scout medal, and we serve the community as a whole by allowing more time before a bulldozer is at the site. I will be laying down in front of that bulldozer if need be, because that is how much I care about making the best decision for the whole community of Milton, young and old, on this historic site with a building that looks like an ugly duckling right now, but has stories and soul within those walls. As always, thank you for your consideration. Happy holidays, Patty Silver.
Okay.
I think we all believe Patty when she says she'll be laying down in front of it.
Yeah. So that's our only public comment?
Yes, sir.
In general? Okay. Let's move on to the consent agenda. Will the city clerk please sound those items?
Our first item is approval of the November 1st, 2010 special called work session minutes. Agenda item number 10, 1291. Next is approval of the November 8th, 2010 work session minutes. Agenda item number 10, 1292. Our third item is approval of the November 15th, 2010 regular council meeting minutes. Agenda item number 10, 1293. Our fourth item is approval of a contract between the City of Milton and Frontline Surveying and Mapping, Inc., for a boundary and topographic survey for a 5-acre parcel on Highway 9 in the amount of $2,575. This is agenda item number 10, 1294. Our fifth item is approval of a professional services contract between the City of Milton and Universal Engineering Services, Inc., for a Phase 1 environmental site assessment and geotechnical evaluation for the 5-acre tract on Highway 9 in the amount of $6,700. This is agenda item number 10, 1295. Next is approval of a contract between the City of Milton and Bass Signal Corporation for directional boring services for signal and pedestrian improvements at the intersection of Webb Road and Deerfield Parkway in the amount of $9,600. This is agenda item number 10, 1296. Seventh is approval of a professional services contract between the City of Milton and Lowe Engineers, LLC, to provide professional transportation engineering and planning services to the city in the amount of $30,000. Agenda item number 10, 1297. Our eighth and final item is approval of a contract with URS to provide final engineering design services for the Cogburn Road Bridge Replacement Project in the amount of $135,212. This is agenda item number 10, $12.98.
Okay, and we removed item number 9. Is there a motion and a second?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda as read.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Lust, seconded by Councilmember Hewitt. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Okay, we'll move on now to reports and presentations.
I believe there are a couple more people that were wanting to be here for this that have not arrived yet. Would you mind if we went ahead and did the first presentation item and then did the
Yeah,
reports
I
and
don't have a
presentations?
problem at all with that.
Is that okay?
Yep. Okay, everybody okay with that?
We'll do the first presentation if you're okay with it, and then the public hearing. And
Okay.
then we'll come back to it before unfinished business. This should be fairly quick.
Okay. All right, let's move on to our first presentation.
First item is RZ 10-06 to amend the City of Milton zoning ordinance, Section 64-1820, landscaping business, plant nursery, or garden center with indoor retail component. Agenda item number 10, 1300. Our second item is RZ 10-08 to amend the City of Milton zoning ordinance, Section 64-1, definition for landscaping business. Agenda item number 10, 1301.
Okay, do I have a motion and a second on first presentation items?
I'll make a motion to approve the first presentation item.
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Councilmember Hewitt, second by Councilmember Thurman. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. All right, we'll move on to our public hearings. Will clerk please sound this item?
Public hearing item, approval of a resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Milton, Georgia regarding 911 wireless enhanced 911 charges and voice over internet protocol. This is agenda item number 10, 1302. Mr. Matt Marietta.
Mayor and Council, I'll start while Matt's walking up. We've got two things that have to happen with this, which we revisit every year at the end of the year to confirm that we're going to pass it on to the next year. One is approval of the resolution authorizing us to continue to levy the $1.50 that we can levy on a phone bill to pay for 911 services. The other requirement is that there be a public hearing that's held greater than 10 days before you consider the resolution. So there'll be no vote on this item tonight. This is just meeting the legal requirement of having a public hearing saying that we intend on continuing on next year just in the same status quo that we've been in for the last 3 years. And I don't know if, now that I've said all that, I don't know if Matt necessarily has anything more to add, although he would have said that much shorter than I did. But that's really the purpose of this tonight, is to just hear if there's any public comment before we allow you to vote potentially on the resolution on the 20th.
Okay, Matt, do you have anything you want
Do you have any questions?
to add to that?
This is basically just a reaffirmation of what we had last year.
Okay. Well, while we've got this public hearing open, do we have any public comment on this, either for or support or
No, sir.
against? Okay. Then I'll close the public hearing. Is there any questions that council might have for Matt or Chris? Joe, you look like you want to ask something.
Yeah, good recognition skills there. Matt, what voice over IP? I know this is something that we passed before. Since this is my first time, I get to ask the question. So, how does voice over IP impact? How is it impacted by this?
I'm not exactly sure what the billing mechanism is, honestly, but it's based on, it's so that internet-based phone services do not miss the $1.50 charge.
Okay, so we're specifically calling out vendors that provide just voice over IP, so Bondage or somebody like that. Okay.
All that is just specifying them because they don't fall within the typical definitions of cellular telephone or a landline.
But for a single phone, regardless of what technology it's using, this charge applies?
Yes.
Okay,
And that'll be built on the phone company.
great. All right.
Okay, any other questions? All right, do we want to, does anybody know if there's anyone else that might be waiting for? Okay, all right, then let's go back to our
Yeah.
proclamation, and
Are you ready? We can do unfinished business. I mean, we still,
we can keep,
we're still trucking.
keep going if there's somebody else that you guys would like to be here.
Jack, I'm looking to you. What do you think?
You know, it's a cold night, I think people might be
Hiding, okay.
Okay.
Well, we will go ahead
We'll
then.
go ahead and do that so you don't have to sit through too long. All right. The city clerk would please call this item, and I believe Councilmember Thurman is going to present it.
This is a proclamation recognizing Hunt Tosh, winner of the Chronicle of the Horse USHJA International Hunter Derby. This is being presented by Councilmember Karen Thurman.
Thank you. And I'm very honored to present this. It's Milton's equestrian aspect that makes us unique and differentiates us from the other cities in the North Fulton area. For most of us, we enjoy this uniqueness and love seeing the horses and the farms and pastures throughout Milton. For others, such as Hunt Tosh, Jack Flowers, and Laura Bentley, the equestrian lifestyle is their way of life. It is these folks that are truly goodwill ambassadors for the city of Milton and help promote the city and its equestrian heritage. Tonight we are recognizing one of these individuals. Hunt Tosh is a world-class rider who recently won the International Hunter Derby Finals. He started riding at age of 2 and has won the 2009 WCHR Pro Finals and was recently named the leading hunter rider at the Pennsylvania National Horse Show. So it's a proclamation honoring Hunt Tosh and his Chronicle of the Horse USHJA International Hunter Derby win. Whereas Milton resident Hunt Tosh is a longtime rider, trainer, and caregiver of championship horses and their riders. And whereas earlier this year Hunt won the prestigious Chronicle of the Horse USHJA International Hunter Derby in Lexington, Kentucky. And whereas in doing so added the title to his growing list, including being the 2009 World Champion in the Hunter Rider Professional. And whereas the city of Milton is a distinct community known for its equestrian estates and facilities, and whereas the city of Milton values its equestrian heritage and chose its horse as the symbol and logo of our city, and whereas Tosh lives in the city of Milton with his wife and daughter, has made his hometown famous for the level of expertise he possesses in the equestrian field, and whereas Hunt travels around the United States often spreading the knowledge of both his proficiency and the city of Milton. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and city council of the city of Milton, hereby dedicate Monday, December 6, 2010, as Hunt Tosh Day in the city of Milton, Georgia. Given under our hand and seal of the city of Milton, Georgia, on the 6th day of December 2010.
He's always the last.
I'd just like to also say, I know, that's a great honor that Hunt, for Hunt, also for our city, and I'm sure your friends and family and others that you compete against or with. But just want to also thank the horse community that's here tonight, people that represent the horse community, because as you know, kind of our symbol and the branding, if you want to call, of what we think is great about Milton has a lot to do with the equestrian community. So we just want to thank all of you that are here tonight and those that aren't, and just glad that you're part of Milton. So thanks. All right, let's see, we are back. Let's see, I believe we're at unfinished business now. Or, I'm sorry, yeah, first item.
Item is approval of a text amendment to Chapter 54 Telecommunications of the City of Milton Code of Ordinances, Sections 54-4.3, 54-7.b, 54-11, and 54-21.1. Agenda item number 10, 1287. This item came into first presentation on November 15th, 2010, and is being presented by Ms. Lynn Tully.
Mayor and council, this is basically just a cleanup of some errors we found in the telecommunications ordinance. Basically, there were some citations that were off by one. So we've gone through and we've reordered those, and this amendment just cleans that up. Are there any questions?
There's any questions? Okay. If not, do I have a motion and a second?
Mayor, I'll put forward a motion. I put forward a motion to approve agenda item number 10-1287 as it reads, approval of a text amendment to Chapter 54, Telecommunications of the City of Milton Code of Ordinances, Sections 54-4, 54-7, 54-11, and 54-21.
I'll second it.
Okay, I've got a motion by Councilmember Bailey, second by Councilmember Thurman. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Okay, the city clerk, please say on the next item.
Next item is approval of a text amendment to replace in its entirety Appendix A, fees and other charges of the City of Milton Code of Ordinances, agenda item number 10, 1288. First presentation was on November 15th, 2010. Ms. Lynn Tully.
This item is one that is also a cleanup item, basically. The Code of Ordinances, I don't know if y'all have ever noticed, but the codified code has an appendix section for fees and charges. And that appendix section, up until now, has been labeled with mostly TBD, to be determined. Probably a good 80% of it said TBD. That doesn't mean we weren't making charges. That doesn't mean that we didn't have a procedure to go through. They just weren't in the codified section. So what basically that appendix does is it reflects all the fees that are mentioned in the codes. They're not necessarily all the fees that we charge, but they're all those fees that are mentioned in the municipal code. So anywhere they've mentioned one, we've assigned a number. Some of them had numbers. Most of them had numbers because we'd already had fees, but there were a few that didn't have any numbers to them. So those will show up on your sheet looking like a new fee. Technically, it's a new fee, but we've never charged it. So it's one of those things where, if no one ever asks for a dog license, you don't ever charge the fee for the dog license kind of thing. But so what we've done here is we've gone through and we've plugged all those numbers in. There are very few. In fact, there are just a couple that I can think of that are brand new. Would point out that one that is brand new are the building plan review fees for single-family residential and townhouses. Those fees are a fee, again, that, it would be basically a fee that's passed on. We consult for those plan review services. They are being conducted now. We're taking them basically at a loss because we don't have a charge for that. So we have included a charge for those plan reviews. And, of course, there are some fees that were that were mentioned in some of the new ordinances. The telecommunications ordinance is one where we didn't assign a number to the fee yet. And so this assigns a number to that fee. So that one is new, but, again, is already mentioned in the code. So, and I really think those are the main ones, as I'm flipping through here, that are really new fees. Are there any questions in regards to these fees and how it came up?
Go ahead, Alan.
Thanks, Mayor. The fee for the dog and cat vaccination, is that in addition to the Fulton counties? Or is that in place of?
It is the same as the Fulton County, so it's in place of.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Gotcha.
In your opinion and staff's opinion, are these fees comparable or in line with other jurisdictions and other communities within reason?
Yes, sir. When we put these together, we looked at what it really cost in staff time, preparation, advertising, things of that nature. And then we also looked at what were our sister cities doing around us to be sure that, what we were thinking about as a reasonable cost really was reasonable in comparison to everyone else. And it appears that everything does fall in line as recommended here.
Okay. Are there any other questions, Karen?
And these are actually fees, so they're really based on what we expect our time to be
Yes,
and cost to be incurred in there. It's not like a tax where it's,
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
so they're actually, you feel like they're what they should be as far as the amount of staff time and all that would be required,
Yes, ma'am.
And it's really just to cover that cost.
cover that cost.
That's the intent.
And is it fair to say also that periodically, if we were to find that we were able to do it at a lesser expense, that we could, of course, come back at any time at your discretion and/or the discretion of this council or or the mayor and revise those downward if necessary?
Yes, ma'am. We see a
I
consistent
mean,
trend.
obviously, or upward, but obviously trying to always be mindful of how to charge less if at all
Yeah,
possible.
I'm going to add to that I'd like to keep that open, that if, as we've had meetings in the past, if there's a fee where, we get, several people's concerns or whatever, thinking that maybe, if we do find out later that maybe our fee in something is not in the right range, we have the ability to bring it back and take a look at it. Okay. All right. Any other questions? If not, do I have a motion and a second?
Mayor, I move that we accept the amendment changes, or I guess this is an appendix, the appendix as submitted by the council.
Who submitted to the council? All right. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Have a
That's
mo-
for agenda item 10-1288.
That's correct,
correct.
sorry.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Longoria and a second by Councilmember Thurman. Any discussion on that? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. All right, we could move on to the new business.
Our first agenda item will be approval of an agreement with Blue Oliver, Inc., Whole Town Solutions. Mr. Chris Lawler.
Okay. I thought we added that to the end of the business. I was getting ready to talk about something else. All right, let's talk about this one. Mayor and council, back, let me flip to where we are here. Back in June, I believe. Hang on, Sue, you ended up getting ahead of me. All right. June 27th, 2010, when we were in a retreat and we were talking about a revisit to the Crabapple Master Plan. One of the things that the council indicated was, I think what I heard is that it would be preferable if we could find a way for it to work within our purchasing policies and our current ordinances as it existed, would be to try to find a way to engage Lou Oliver. Many of you know Lou and his company, Lou Oliver Incorporated Whole Town Solutions, into the starting process of the revisit of the Crabapple Master Plan. Since that day, it's taken several iterations and several different changes to be able to put together a scope of work and a proposal, as well as a package that Ken's office was willing to sign off on as meeting both our policy as well as our ordinances. And that's what's here in front of you tonight. This, like I've said to some of you individually and now collectively as a group, this is one avenue of moving forward. I think what I heard the council say is this was the preferred method to move forward, and we were able to find a way to do that. It's certainly sitting in front of you tonight that if you choose to approve this, we'll kick it off and we'll do a charrette process with the Crabapple area to revisit some of those things that we believe need to be revisited over there. If for some reason you think this is not the direction to go, there are, as I've indicated in the council report, there's probably, so many different directions to go. We couldn't even name them all tonight, and we could explore those. But the reason this is in front of you tonight in the fashion in which it is I believe this is what your hope was, at least at the time we were meeting in the retreat. And I just open it up tonight for a healthy discussion as to whether or not this is the right direction. Staff will go whatever direction you all think as a body is the right direction to go. So we're not going to We certainly
Sure.
won't get our feelings hurt. Let's just have a good discussion and decide what's right for Milton.
No, and I think I'd like, in fact, I know our legal counsel has confirmed that this is certainly within our legal rights and all of the counsel. And I know the reason we talked about this was, I think it's fairly unanimous that Lou Oliver would be one of the best people we could hire to kind of give us a picture or a path to start or to look at Crabapple and relook at it. And was very qualified to do that and has done some really good things. So, I want to make sure, and I've talked to some council members, and, we want to make sure there's a concern that we're not out, picking somebody rather than going out to the market. But in my opinion, the overall scope of this, of Crabapple or any other area in Milton is such a large scope that this is just a small start, and it doesn't preclude anyone else from bidding on or being a part of the actual project. It's just, again, I look at it as though if I were building a house and going to hire architects and engineers and it was going to cost $10,000, I certainly would not have a problem spending $200 having someone with some vision to give me a picture to start from to show these other guys this is the direction we want to go in. So, again, I think it's an opportunity to, I'm going to say Lou Oliver's kind of world-renowned now. I know he's traveling, doing all kind of new cities. And so I think it's a great opportunity for the city of Milton to have someone that caliber to kind of get us started or whatever. So with that, I'll kind of leave it up to the rest of the council if they have any comments or questions for staff. Or
I'd like to hear from legal counsel.
Yes, ma'am. The issue I think that's on the table is whether or not the City of Milton, consistent with the City of Milton's purchasing policies, can basically, without going through an RFP process, single source this component. And the answer is yes, based upon what is considered a vital component of the service you all are acquiring, which is that of a registered landscape architect, which is one of the professional services called out in the purchasing policies that you can directly hire without going through an RFP process. Quite frankly, your all's definition, the City of Milton's definition of professional services is quite narrow. In fact, an argument can be made that it's more narrow than it needs to be, but that's the way you drafted it. That's the way it was approved, and that's what we're living with here. And I think this falls within that definition, so I'm comfortable with it. It's called out, by the way, in your packet, it's called out specifically that the architectural component of this proposal is a vital and necessary and integral part of the package you are acquiring. That's why I was comfortable with it, and that's why I invited Mr. Lockerman also comfortable with it.
Okay. Any other questions on this or discussion? Bill?
Having been in the industry, the building industry, for quite a while, I have a little heartburn about the process. I have no problem with Lou Oliver. I sat on design review board with him for a couple of years. I know his work. I visited his work and I have the highest regard for his design capabilities. But having been in this industry for so long, I've been a director of the oldest construction trade organization in the United States. There are issues like this that have come up in front of us several times. And the issue is sole sourcing without the opportunity, without the transparency of open and free competition in cases like this. I understand. I've heard what the city attorney has said. Usually this is where it comes down to in cases like this is controversy between opposing attorneys. Like I said, I've been a part or a party in competitive bidding before, and this just seems to smack of a sole sourcing opportunity or situation. I will defer to the city attorney and accept his explanation going forward.
Can I address that, Mr. Mayor?
Sure.
And to all the council, the suggestion I'm giving you is not that the city council doesn't have the authority to come down and choose a process that you want to choose. I'm simply trying to explain to you what your purchasing policies authorize. If you all collectively want to go a different way, of course you have that authority. I'm simply saying that when you make professional architectural services a necessary and integral part of this proposal, I'm comfortable with it meeting at a minimum the spirit, if not the letter of your policy.
Okay. And I think, let's be clear, we have several options we can do. I mean, we could put this out to bid and, go for the low bid or whatever, but again, I echo our city manager in the fact that it seemed in June that the council really wanted to move forward with hiring who we thought would be the best and for the situation. So we legally are allowed to do that if we want to, and I certainly understand and respect Councilmember Lusk's thoughts on that too. But again, I would support this tonight because I think it's in the best interest of the city, rather than just getting to start out and get our direction, rather than getting the lowest bid on that. But and I think it's a small percentage or part, and the rest of the whole project will certainly be out to bid for the much larger pieces with all the firms. So, anyways, anybody else, Karen?
Well, realistically, the reason why you would go to this rather than putting it out to bid is because a person offers something that's unique and specialized, and that either that or a time frame that you could not get if you just put things out to bid. I mean, I have met Lou on a couple occasions. I've been very impressed with everything I've heard and seen from him. I know there are others that probably have worked more, like the mayor, with him and Bill, and I really understand what he can offer to us, and that's why his name kept coming up in our initial retreat as the person that we would like to do it. So are there others that have really worked with him and feel like he can offer us something that we might not get if we just went with the lowest bidder, and that would be a reason why we definitely should go this route rather than just putting things out to bid?
Anybody have any comment?
I can't answer. Anybody else? Julie?
I was just going to echo that, and I think that Councilmember Thurman brings up a point that I would echo, and that is that the unique characteristics of what's required for this particular area of Milton, I think, does indeed require a skill set that perhaps is not held by everybody that's out in the marketplace. And I think that when the mayor refers back to our discussions of June, I think that was kind of the fundamental component that we all concurred with, was that the uniqueness of who needs to come to the table to help set that direction was critical. And I think that Mr. Oliver, in a whole host of ways, most importantly based on the work that he's done for other cities and the work that he's been able to do not only regionally, nationally, and internationally, speaks to the uniqueness of Crabapple and what's required. So,
because you worked with him before on the design review board also, so
Yes,
do
I
you really
did.
feel like he is?
I feel that there is nobody that's as uniquely qualified as Mr. Oliver to bring together all of the necessities of what Crabapple needs to be, both historically and going forward. And I think that's a pretty unusual set of talents and experiences. And I think that unique to Milton, we need a unique set of skill sets. So I would absolutely support.
Alan?
Thank you, Mayor. And I remember our discussions and needing Crabapple to be rural by design, and there was consensus to move forward with Mr. Oliver based on the fact that I think he gets that concept per our discussions in our June workshop.
Okay. Joe?
Yeah, I guess the real question is, we talked about that in June, July. It's December now, so obviously wasn't. I don't know what time schedule we're trying to meet, but the reality of what we're really talking about is either suggesting him for the work or putting it out to bid is one of timing. If he's the most qualified person, that comes out in the bid process. It's not like we wouldn't be able to pick the person who's most qualified for this. That's what we would do. So I guess I'm confused as to why it couldn't have just gone out to bid, and we would have seen exactly why we were choosing this person in the first place. So,
Well, if it went out for bid, that's not necessarily true. I mean, I think this contract's $30,000, which, I mean, I know $30,000 seems like a lot to a lot of people, but in the scheme of things, as the mayor's pointed out, that's not much money. If it were a two or three or four $15 million project, it'd be something else. But if we go out for bid, somebody could undercut this by quite a bit, and you know, they may know how to design a strip mall in Atlanta.
yeah, but
That's not what we want in Crab Apple.
You know, Joe, and I understand your point. I think it's more like if you had a heart condition and you wanted the best heart surgeon, and you know you were going to travel or whatever, and you're going to pay that price because you know you're getting the best. You know, you might get the other guys that are less expensive or whatever to sew you up or whatever, but you want that one person because in everything you've looked at, he's the best. And you know, it's kind of you take their appointment when you can or not. So it's, you know, if we put it out to me now, I'm totally on board with bidding everything out of substance, and once once you have scope and spec, then you can get apples to apples bids. But to me, this is something you can't really put out to a bid. You'll get a number and you'll get something, but you know, you really almost need to pick the right person first and then get a reasonable price from them.
Yeah, don't
if
get
that
me
makes
wrong.
any sense.
I'm
And
not saying-
I don't think, and if we turn around and bid it now, of course, we probably wouldn't get Lou Oliver to bid it because he's already put his price out. So
Yeah.
he'd have to step out of
I
it.
mean, the way I kind of look at it is if you were looking for someone to paint your family portrait, would you go with the lowest bidder, or would you go with the person that really had the artistic talent that you wanted, that you felt like could make you look best? And
If I could chime
Yeah,
in
let's
just
let
a
Chris-
second on the timing, because you're right, there's a window of time that has occurred. And frankly, this was one of those windows that when we came back from the retreat, first thing I did is call this guy up who many of you talk so highly about and said, I got to meet you because you must have something that this council really appreciates. So we started talking with Lou, and it really took an introduction and kind of a couple of times of getting together to convince Lou that this was something that we really wanted him to be engaged with. I'll tell you, Lou's a busy guy. And for a period of time during this window of opportunity, a good period of it, he's been in Scotland and been in the Bahamas working on cities and things there. And every time I thought I had him nailed down, he'd go to Scotland for 2 weeks. This isn't the type of work I truly believe. Now, we could ask him, and he could probably answer it for you. But this is one that, in order to get even somebody with his expertise involved with, we had to go get him because he's got plenty of work, and people are coming from all over the world to have him help with their planning process. So, yeah, there's a window of time there. A good bit of that is because of, number one, required a relationship be built, that he would even say, gosh, I really think that this is a good thing that I can get involved with. Number two is he's been, like I said, in Europe and in the Caribbean working some. So he's a busy guy, has a good job. We finally were able to get this proposal to get to Ken's office, to agree to it, that it matched our policy. That's what's eaten up this window is number one, we had to form the relationship. Number two is we had to convince somebody who's as good as he is that this is a community he wanted to work in. Three, we had to get him back in town to be able to finish the proposal and then get it through Ken's office. So, whether we like it or not, every time we picked off one of those things to do, it was just encumbered by, gosh, we're going to wait 2 weeks before Lou gets back. And I'm probably talking a lot to say. It just drew itself out, but when we finally got it to where all the stars aligned, this is the first agenda it could be put on.
Okay.
For a formal comment, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
I just want to mention, I think maybe to Councilmember LaGloria's point, this doesn't lend itself to a bid. I'll agree with that. Could you do an RFP, a request for proposals for this kind of a service? You could. And that's what I was getting to. I mean, the council would have authority to do that, and you could probably even put in rural by design criteria, and you would get that. Now, for $30,000, would you get a lot of information back? I don't know. I mean, that's almost to the point where the preparation for the proposal package might eat up any revenue generated. But again, just going back to where we started, I'm just circling back around. Could you do an RFP? Sure. Can you legally do what you're trying to do here? I believe you can. That's my.
Okay, anywhere else? Okay, if there's no more discussion or questions, do I have a motion and a second?
Mayor, I'd like to approve an agreement with Lou Oliver Incorporated, Whole Town Solutions, agenda item number 10-1299.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Tartt, second by Councilmember Bailey. All in favor, or is there any discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
That's 6 approval and 1 opposed. Okay, we'll move on to our next new business item.
Next item is approval of a resolution requesting the transmittal of an application for fiscal year 2011 Livable Centers Initiative, LCI, study grant in the amount not to exceed $150,000 in order to conduct an LCI study of the area along Highway 9 to the Atlanta Regional Commission, ARC. This is agenda item number 10-1303, presented by Michelle McIntosh Ross.
Good evening. Oh, here it is. We're here tonight to seek approval to transmit LCI application to ARC. Okay. A Livable Centers Initiative, LCI, is the program sponsored by the Atlanta Regional Commission that promotes quality growth in the region by providing funds to communities that share the program's focus, which is to encourage increased residential development, mixed uses, and connectivity in activity and town centers. ARC is also advancing the concept of lifelong communities through the LCI program. The lifelong communities is the concept where individuals can live throughout their lives within the same community. The area that we're looking at submitting an application this year is the Highway 9 area. According to ARC's LCI eligibility requirements, the Highway 9 area qualifies as a corridor LCI because of its proximity to the mega corridor Georgia 400. We are looking at a 4-mile length of Highway 9 as the study area from Bethany Bend in the north in Milton all the way down to Mayfield Road in Alpharetta. And we are also including the west side of Webb Road. We would like to submit a joint application with Alpharetta to include the areas on the map that you can see that is in Alpharetta between Milton, and then from Milton to Mayfield, which is in Alpharetta. The end point at Mayfield is also the start of Alpharetta's Main Street LCI. So we'll be linking two LCIs if we were to get this. Now, ARC always likes when communities do joint projects and there's coordination. So working with LCI will most probably give us some extra points. And also they like the fact that it linked both LCIs. The maximum for a joint corridor LCI is $150,000. So we are going to ask for that. That is $120,000 from the federal grant and then a local match of $30,000. The resolution that you have was edited to reflect those new numbers of the $150,000 with the local match of $30,000. Some of the reasons why we chose Highway 9 was the only area in Milton that was actually eligible, but Highway 9 was identified in a comp plan, the draft 2030 comprehensive plan, as a priority master planning area. So that would help in implementing what the comp plan is suggesting, that we embark on a master plan. So if we were to get this LCI, that would actually move that project forward. Also, Highway 9 is the gateway to Milton along Georgia State Route 9. And also you may know that we are almost finished with the Highway 9 design guidelines. And within that document, there are proposed streetscapes, and the preferred streetscape that's in the plan talks about enhancing pedestrian facilities and promotes a village feel. And in order to do this, the suggestion is that we would lower the speed limit to 35 miles per hour, which from 45 miles per hour, which it is now. 35 miles per hour would promote a better streetscape design. Also, the section along Highway 9 in Alpharetta from Mayfield on south is also 35 miles per hour. So this plan would help us move forward with a request to reduce that speed limit along Highway 9 to 35 miles per hour, which would allow us to do some better streetscape. Also, along Highway 9, there is already zoning in place, mostly mixed-use, office and commercial, a few AG1 parcels, but there is no plan for each of those parcels. So an LCI plan would suggest uses for those parcels, and we can use that plan to market and promote those uses that we choose. And then during the plan, we could also bring up the idea of changing the name again. So we'll take a look at that.
I like that idea.
Yeah, I know. Now, the schedule for the LCI, the application deadline is a week from Friday, December 17th. And it's pretty late this year. It's usually not so late. They had some delays down at ARC, so anyways. So we'll probably get notification of award sometime in late spring of 2011. And then the project is due to ARC by March 30th. So we would hope to be done in January of 2012 or February, get permission to submit that plan before March 30th of 2012. These are just some examples of some other communities that got LCIs and moved forward with some implementation. The city of Woodstock completed their LCI in 2002, and then after that, they were able to get some direction on moving forward with a form-based code in their zoning code document. And I know we have a lot of plans to do some things with our zoning code, and if we could get some real direction on exactly what to do, that would help, and it would come out of an LCI type project. Also, Swanee was able to get LCI assistance to do their old town center and Swanee Park. And I don't know if you've been over there, but it's really shaping up. It's looking good. These were the plans that was done for the LCI, and it kind of looks like that on the ground now. So also in Chattahoochee Hills, Serenbe, that neighborhood, was also part of a wider LCI for Chattahoochee Hills. So there's a lot of examples throughout Metro Atlanta that shows success stories for LCIs, and some of our neighboring communities have gotten LCIs, and we would like to get one too. So we're just going to keep submitting an application, and hopefully our point will be heard and we'll get one. Any questions?
Karen?
A couple questions. Number one, since this is covering Alfred also, are they submitting a similar resolution?
Yes, they did. They
Okay.
submitted a similar resolution.
And I know it stated that we would match up to 30,000 as Milton.
Yes.
Is Alpharetta going to put any money into it also?
No, they're not going to put any money. It's so small, if you look at the study area of the section that is going to be in Alpharetta. And, right through there is less than a mile. And it actually helps us to have Alpharetta on board, and they just wasn't able to put the financial commitment. And so we felt that it helps us anyways to have Alpharetta on board. And so if we paid for the 30,000, we would get more back with Alpharetta on board.
We did speak with representatives from Alpharetta on a couple of different occasions, and they just didn't budget for it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But we'll get more say-so on what the final outcome is, I assume, if we're the ones putting in the...
Oh, yes,
ma'am.
I like that.
And
Julie?
the chances
Well,
of
Bill?
getting it without them
Yeah.
involved is really non-existent. So
Yeah.
if we were to choose to not approve this because they didn't budget for it, I think we would be losing out on our investment of $30,000. I just don't think that even ARC would entertain it.
It's very obvious it's the overwhelming majority is in Milton. So, Bill?
Michelle, What are the challenges or issues surrounding lowering the speed limit to 35?
We have to, because it's a state route, we'd have to go through Georgia DOT, and from what I understand, I've never worked with them, but from what I understand, they are more interested in moving people as quickly as possible on the roadway through to get to somewhere else. So they don't typically like to hear that you want to slow people down. But I've also heard that when you have a plan in place, which is Alpharetta does and certain other places, Atlanta does as well, if you have a plan in place that suggests that the community wants it, you're looking at increasing pedestrian facilities and streetscape and so on, then they would listen to that point and they may entertain the idea of lowering the speed limit.
Would this include a widening Highway 9 through Milton?
Well, there is a widening proposed in the North Fulton Transportation Plan. It is a few years away, but I don't think anybody's expecting any planning to wait on that. So we do have that in mind, that it may or may not be widened, and so that would always be an option in the LCI planning.
You would go through the schedule again. We're going to submit next week, and we'll know from ARC by
In the
late spring. And then they will award it when?
Oh, yeah, well,
They'll award it in
in the
late
spring,
spring?
yeah,
Oh.
that's when they, yeah.
So then the entire project has to be designed and resubmitted to ARC by March 30th, 2012?
What will happen when you get notification that you've won or not? But, if we did win a grant, we would initiate a RFP process to get a consultant to work on the LCI. So that would take a few months to get a scope together, to put the bid out, get the bids returned, decide on who we're going to choose, and then we'll have a schedule on the planning process, which would include meetings, charrettes, and so on. And then there'll be the planning phase where the consultants go back and do their drawings, and then public comment and all of that. And then we'll get a final document, and that should be submitted before March 30th of 2012.
Okay, that's just the design process now. Have you gone then a tentative schedule beyond the design process?
Yeah, there'll be a tentative schedule in the application. They do want to see a schedule in the application.
Okay. I think, Julie, you had a question?
Thank you, Mayor. I was just going to, thank staff. Secondly, wanted to just reaffirm that obviously we've pursued an LCI for this area in the past. And so this is obviously consistent with that approach and policy that we've all been very dedicated to wanting to see for that Highway 9 area in order to bring some uniqueness to the Highway 9 area. And I think that that's obviously why staff has now pursued Alpharetta in the hopes that that'll increase our chances. So just thank you for that. To Councilmember Thurman's point, obviously we'd love it if Alpharetta would help fund a portion of that, but we do understand that without them, as has been evidenced in the past, we were not successful in getting the LCI bid. So I think that we will keep our fingers crossed and just hope that staff is successful in that bid for the LCI. So thank you.
Anybody else? Alan?
Thanks, Mayor. Along Councilmember Lust's question, the LCI grant, the way it's set up, and I just need some help understanding this, the designs that are put forward, are they going to be contingent upon a 35-mile-per-hour speed limit, or will they present like two options, one, keeping it what it is, and one, if we were to get it lowered to 35, this is what the design would be, kind of like what the Highway 9 design.
Yeah, that's what we'll
committee
suggest
Okay.
In our scope.
I just didn't want them to do a whole bunch of work based on
Oh.
35, and then we didn't get that approved, and then
Yeah.
everything's for nothing.
Yeah, we want it to be written suggesting a 35 mile per hour, and we also want the document to be able to take that to DOT as well.
But if we don't get approved for that, there'll be a fallback plan.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have
Okay.
alternatives in the plan.
Okay, gotcha.
And I'm sorry, Mayor, I did have just
Julie?
one additional thought with regards to the design standards, and knowing that, of course, that we've had a committee that's worked very diligently, very hard. But this process also will open up still the possibility for additional suggestions that would come through the professionals and through the ARC and those involved at the LCI, correct?
Yes, and it goes further than the scope of the design committee. It includes land use. So when you think about the comp plan, we didn't do any major land use changes along Highway 9. We're actually suggesting that wait until an in-depth master plan is done. And if
So it's also consistent with the comprehensive
Oh,
land
yes.
use plan update process and everything that CPAC has recommended.
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve agenda item 10-1303, a resolution for LCI's study grant in the amount not to exceed $150,000. And the text changes that were provided to the council tonight on the resolution to reflect the $150,000 grant and the $30,000 matching funds.
I have a motion. Before I take a second, I'd like to just make sure, and I think anybody else have any questions or anything for staff before? Okay. All right, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, I have a motion for approval from Councilmember Tartt and a second by Councilmember Hewitt. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. City Clerk, please sound the next item.
The next item is approval of a resolution adopting the council and work session meeting dates, January through December 2011. Agenda item number 10 for 1004. And I will present that. We're seeking approval of adoption of the city council regular meetings and work session schedules, and scheduling the 36 regular council meetings and work sessions, taking into consideration the city of Milton observed holidays and also the Fulton County school calendar. And we ask for your consideration and approval. Can you answer any questions?
Do we have any questions on these? Okay. No questions. Then I will ask if I have a motion in a second.
I'd like to make a motion to approve agenda item 10-1304, approval of a resolution adopting the council and work session meeting dates, January through December 2011.
Second motion.
All right, I have a motion by Councilmember Hewitt for adoption and a second by Councilmember Lusk. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? That's unanimous. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Next, open it up and see if we have anything that council members want to report on. I want to say I think our events this weekend were a success, especially considering the weather. I know the tree lighting and all that had a great crowd, and it was a great venue, and I think it'll grow and grow. And I was surprised that many people were there with the weather. So thanks, Cindy and Jason and the rest of our staff to put that on. And then also like for Councilmember Hewitt, maybe tell us a little bit about
got a
his
quick
experience.
thing, and I was able to take part, as Joe mentioned earlier, in the live fire training exercise on Thursday. And I would like to thank the chief for the invitation for us to attend. And it was great to see what our firefighters do, even though it was a stage thing. But it was pretty real to me, and see how our equipment that they ask for in budgets and we approve, how it works, and how they interact with each other. And very interesting experience. And I would encourage anybody up here to do it if we get the invitation again. Thank you for putting up with me.
Thank you.
But the only problem is the house burned, so I didn't do my job right.
Thank you, Chief, for that. All right, anybody else have anything they want to? Julie?
I just wanted to comment that I had received a call today talking about how excited a young man was that had the opportunity to go to lunch with the mayor, and it was part of a process. And the mayor didn't know that I got this phone call, but I got a call today from the family of this young man just saying what an amazing experience it was for him. And I'm sure that the mayor experienced an equal amount of pride in being able to have an opportunity to interact with this young man. But I just think that it speaks again to the benefit of having a city and a community like ours, when you can have folks that are obviously young people at our elementary schools that get an opportunity to personally sit down and spend some time, not just with their elected official, but with the mayor of their community. And it went a long way, and I think will impact that young man for a long time. So just thank you for that.
Good. I enjoyed it, although I knew this young man was taking it pretty serious when we came to pick a fifth grader up, and he's in a three-piece pinstripe suit. So I knew he had some questions for me.
He may take your chair one day.
So, all right. Anybody else? If not, we'll move on to staff reports.
A couple for you tonight, Council. One, I just wanted to say to the Christmas events, considering the weather, large success this year, and I certainly had no role in making them a success. We had some, led by Cindy and Jason and their staff, her staff and Jason, as well as the other people that spent the day out there in the drizzle. I gotta say it was much success over last year. So if we just keep getting better every year, I think we're on the right path. I want to ask you a question about next week's work session. You can see the agenda. Should be in front of you on a yellow piece of paper. We're going to be here for a real estate meeting potentially, and I'm okay with that. If we could have thought of something else to stick on there, we would have. We kind of, if you remember the meeting of November the 15th, we kind of cleared some stuff out, and now we're kind of starting some new stuff, and we're working towards the holiday time of year. We could do a couple of different things with this meeting. We could either hold it on the 13th as it's advertised. We could potentially hold it immediately prior to the meeting on the 20th, if you'd rather have just one night between now and the end of the year where we did a work session and then did a council meeting. We still have time to make those modifications since we're still a week away. The one item that you're going to hear, I think we need to hear, because what's on the agenda next week for your consideration is these two text amendments to the zoning code, and one of the requirements in the flow chart that we've passed is that it does go through a workshop session. I just kind of want to get a feel from y'all as to whether or not you want to come a week from tonight for a very short meeting, or if you potentially would like to move it to the 20th, and maybe we do a 5:30 on the 20th. We certainly could get this agenda item done in a half hour prior to when you were already going to be here. We'll be here no matter how you want to do it. I just want to offer it to you as an option that might free up one of your evenings.
Personally, from my perspective, I think it'd be nice to add it to the next meeting, just again for an evening, not only for council with the holidays and all, but staff time too. So that would be my thoughts, but again, open to council members too. Karen?
I just want to ask staff if obviously the reason behind the work session is so you can get our input on whatever's coming before it. Do you feel like that you would have time to make changes or any minor adjustments that might need to be made? Because I know it's not really that controversial of a...
No, I don't. If there was something that came out that needed substantial change,
Right.
We certainly would take that under advisement, and instead of potentially adopting these on the 20th, we just ask that you defer them to January the 5th and allow us to do whatever work, if there was work that came out of the work session that we couldn't do before the item. We're talking about a change that would then take place, 20 days after this. So.
Do we have any pending stuff coming up that we feel like we need to hurry and get this ordinance done for, or if we had to pass it the first week in January, you think we'd be okay?
I think that would be fine.
Okay.
That would be the next time the council would be together.
Right.
After the 20th, and particularly this time of year, I think we're fine.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else have a different thought on that, or anybody else want an additional meeting? Okay.
Anybody want to meet?
Okay.
again?
As long
Okay,
as
so let's do that.
legally we've got time to. Okay.
So we'll schedule then this workshop for December the 20th at 5:30.
That's unanimous.
Would you just send an email reminder about 5:30 so I don't remember about 5:40?
Yes.
Have we published this agenda yet?
We have.
We'll just republish it.
Well, since we've
published the work session of the 20th. And since we're putting this on the 20th.
we'll just need to put somewhere an ad taking this meeting.
A couple other things. Moving forward tomorrow with another meeting of the Progress Partners with the North Fulton Chamber of Commerce. That's just kind of a regional group that the chamber is getting together, so just know that that's in progress. Auditors are in the building if you happen to stop here during the day, doing what they do in closing out our year from the last fiscal year, so know that that process has started. John sitting over there, you can see the IGA with the City of Johns Creek for IT is in full swing on December the 6th. It's been in place for 6 days. It worked as it needed to. Dave was not in today, and we didn't miss a beat, so all has started well with the IT IGA, so that's ongoing. And y'all have any questions?
When's Stacy coming back from
Well,
maternity
other
leave?
than the fact that she was here all day today, and Mia was here all day today, I gotta say we might have a new mascot. I think that might be the best baby in the world. I wish I got one like that. Baby was here all day today, and I think I heard her make 2 noises. I don't even know what that would be like. That child that was that small. She's due back right after the first of the year, but we started our day today with our strategic planning meeting, as we discussed when we approved that with our environmental scan, and we'll upload that information to you when it gets to that upload date. But Stacy's a part of that team, and she was here all morning, and we all went to lunch, and the baby just sat there and slept. And I thought, good Lord,
Have to enjoy it while you
lunch?
can.
Yeah, but she's engaged to the extent she can be engaged at this point, and but she's due back right after the first of the year.
Okay. I think the next item was adjourned into an executive session to discuss pending litigation. So do I have a motion and a second to adjourn into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to move into executive session to discuss pending litigation. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous.
It's an absolute mess. Those websites that I see are just a mess.
I agree. Half the time I can't find what I'm looking for.
Right. I wish, I need to take some classes in that. I signed up to take some at Emory, but I had a friend that went right before I did. He said, felt bothered. He said they really rushed through that, and this guy was a lot smarter than I am about any kind of web design, and he said, I can't keep up. So I'm not sure whether you will be able to.
I built a streaming audio service. It had probably 2,000 songs on it. It would show a list of the song currently playing, stream played before, and the 3 upcoming. And then you could click on another link that would show you the entire library of songs.
Right.
And if you really wanted to hear something, you could click it, and it would move it up in the playlist.
Wow.
Or if enough people clicked it, it would move it up. Again, like the next 2 or 3 coming up.
Right.
But there was no pictures, and it wasn't pretty.
Yeah.
You know, one like, well, it's just text, John. I said, well, but can you hear music? Yeah. Can you make what songs you want to play and move up? Yeah. So let's go what you can do.
It's like a simple Pandora.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
So that was 1997.
Wow. Yeah, people, they need the glitz.
Yeah.
It's all about presentation.
Yeah. And it's really substance.
And I was a designer for
Okay, do I have a motion we reconvene?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that we reconvene. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. All right, that's going to conclude our meeting. Do I have a motion that we adjourn?
I
So
move to
that John can
adjourn
leave.
the regular council meeting of December 6, 2010.
Have a second?
Second.
All right, have a motion in 2 seconds. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous.